What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comic creator Simon Birks. Welcome to the show.
Hello there.
I'm excited to talk to you. You currently have a book from Top Cow, which is a publication out of Image of,
Yep.
and it's called Antartica. And I want to hop into all things about that. But as always, when I have a creator on the show, especially if it's the first time, I want to know, like, have you always had a love for comics, like as growing up, or did you kind of fall into liking comics later?
Well, yeah. So I think the first memories of comics are going to be my nan. She bought Spider-Man comics for me, like the English editions or the UK editions, when I was about 7. So we're talking about 1977, that sort of time.
Yeah.
And I remember having those and obviously enjoying them. So really, at a very base level, I'm a Spider-Man person. Because that's the comics I was bought, But saying that, then I have to say that there was quite a big lull probably between then and when we started doing comics. I think it was probably around 2012 where I had the idea of maybe I could take some of my short film scripts because I've had whole thing of doing different things, and sort of adapting these short film scripts into, or trying to at least, into comics. So we did that, and we had a look around the UK Comic Cons and to find artists. But that's probably a whole new story. But yes, I've always been a nerd. It's the truth. Yeah. And comics is probably where it started. But there has been a big, long there was a gap where I wasn't really following comics, I have to say. But the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years, it is kind of a big passion now. So.
Yeah. So you said you kind of were working on short films and stuff. Were those screenplays that you were writing and adapting, or what was that kind of process that then led you to say? Because then you said you wanted to take some of these short films and turn them into comics.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, the writing journey started off by kind of winning a poetry competition at school when I was 11, and then sort of it grew from there. Really, I didn't have any passion at all to write before then, and then as soon as that happened, I thought, oh God, I'm good at something. Better do something about that. And really, but so obviously a whole load of teen angst poetry sort of thing,
right.
And then went on to short stories and. Short plays and plays, and eventually we got around to screenplays, and so I'm seem to be getting darker. Anyway, it's screenplays, and I written a couple of screenplays, and then I was doing these. I joined up to like an indie film network because we have actually filmed a couple of them as well that we've done.
Nice.
I thought, okay, I suddenly got that realization where it's going to cost me like thousands, probably of pounds to make these short films, and there's not the biggest audience out there for them. Is there a different way of doing it? I can't remember when that light bulb moment. In fact, I wish I had that light bulb now so I could actually be lit up. But I wish I had that light bulb moment when it happened. But it did. And then I thought, okay, let's try and let's see if I can adapt these short films. But so it's been. I've written a lot of different sorts of things, and I'm very much of. I think when I was younger, I had a saying which is "by my own." So it seems that I would just. If I can do something, I'll try and give it a go. And that's why we've got. So we filmed a little TV sitcom series with Norman Lovett from Red Dwarf. He played Holly in Red Dwarf, the first one, and we also we did wrote a couple of films and filmed one of the films, and we were in another one of the films. It's been a hell of a journey, but then we kind of circled back around to comics. I think is the right way of putting it.
Yep.
Me and my wife, Mary Alice, we had a look at. We went to Comic Cons in the UK about 2013, 2014, and was very pleased with how there's a lot of people, a lot of creators, independent creators out there. so I thought, okay, well, clearly is a thing that happens, and it's not just my weird dream. And yeah, so and we tried a couple of artists, and then found one who'd done previous anthology work, and they were really committed to doing the first comic, which was called Sinners #1. And which is #1 of an epic 12 issue series. So, I mean, I can always suggest not doing that when you're first starting out in comics, because everyone walks up to your table and says, "Oh, great! Is this a one and done?" No, you have to wait 12 years for them all to come out. But yeah, anyway, it's a long haul thing. But we learn. But yes, Sinners #1, and so yeah, I remember again, kind of 2015. Well, we did Kickstarter January 2015. After, well, just about limped over the line. I'd got the goal with like literally a couple of days to go, which was lovely. And then started sitting behind the Comic Con table with our one comic, losing money on a regular basis by doing so, but learning on the way. So.
Yep. And that kind of is how it seems like it goes as you're creating your learning. Like you said, you started to do self-publishing, it seems like, and then with Kickstarter, putting it out there to the world. And you got connected with Top Cow here. How did that connection work as we're starting to lead into, the series with them?
Yeah. Well, I was right place, right time. They did a Kickstarter themselves for the Stairway Anthology book, and one of the reward tiers was to get the 6-page story in the Stairway Anthology. And it was $1,000, and I thought it's too good a chance to pass up. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough, to have that money, and so so I backed it, and then when they were doing a round table sort of thing, so we sort of made it into a holiday and flew out to LA and had a little holiday around this sort of sit down at Top Cow. It was nice to sit down and obviously meet people face to face and chat about it. And honestly, I think they liked the story. I guess they saw it had potential. They asked they said, perhaps you'd like to pitch a full, full arc for this story. And so I did, and the rest is history, I guess. But they said they liked it. And
that's so cool. So there was one of the reward tiers on this anthology was that you could pay to get a couple pages into their anthology, and it just kind of was like I love that, because it's like you're like, you know what? It seems like you felt like you knew what you brought and you knew what you had, and you said, you know what, this is worth it. This is worth the money. This is worth the chance. Yeah. And it seems like it paid off.
Yeah. I mean, when we went over there, I mean, I because we use Kickstarter a lot, but basically we'd sort of do one a month now. But yeah, we've got a lot of, I had quite a few books done by then. So I was able to go out there. And as I always think, it's great to have these, have the comics. But part of my brain it sort of looks at them and that they are calling cards. They are look, this is what I've done, this is what I can do. So I took the ones that I'd done already, and I kind of surreptitiously, or probably not very surreptitiously, knowing me, I just kind of gave them to them. So hey, look, I do this stuff too. So, and they like working with me too. I think that's another thing. It was a good process. So all those things together didn't half help.
Yeah. So if someone's listening to this interview via the podcast or if they're watching the YouTube video here, what is your series from Top Cow? What is it about? Antarctica, it's ongoing right now. In the midst of this recording, I think you're towards the end of Arc 1, Volume 1. I'm about to get ready to get into the second arc. So what is this series that you created?
It's a sci-fi series. I quite like sort of single location things. I think it goes back to the plays and stuff as well, but also things like films like Phone Booth, where you just one place and it it takes a lot of writing to get it to work. 12 Angry Men is one of my favorite films because it's kind of one place. So so Antarctica is one of those places, and it's on Earth, and it's kind of secluded. We've all seen the thing, but it's that sort of thing, and you can have something happen out there, and you're not just going to hop on your mobile phone and sort of sort it out. So yeah, that's quite a nice feature of it. But the actual story is that we have a girl called Hannah Curtis, whose father works out in Antarctica while she's growing up, and she looks forward to him coming home. Obviously, each time he comes back from his sort of work out there, but one day he doesn't come back. And she's sort of around 13, 14, and then it kind of throws her off the rails a bit. And over the next few years, he sort of becomes, I don't know, homeless, really, lost in many ways, but also homeless. But she has a friend called Jim who helps her out and sort of suggests to her nicely that maybe she could train into doing something. And so she goes along and she chooses to be or to train as an engineer. So over next couple of years, she gets her qualifications, and she thinks, okay, now I can maybe go out to Antarctica and find him. Something happens to Jim as well, but I'm not going to go into that. If you read issue 1, you'll know. And then she gets out to Antarctica, but as soon as she does, weird, blinding flashlight, something weird happens, and another Antarctica station, kind of like her one, called the same but bigger, shinier, appears in sort of opposite her, and another Hannah Curtis. This one's a doctor, so Dr. Curtis comes out and is sort of a double doppelganger, or whatever. Other world, alternate world sort of Hannah. And says, okay, we've got to talk about father. And all of a sudden, and that's how it ends. That's how issue 1 ends. And of course, this is, so it's sci-fi, it's mystery, it's action thrillery type thing. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fun to write. There's a lot of character. There's a core team of characters, but it kind of obviously it also has cliffhangers at the end of each issue. People will suddenly appear that you think, oh, okay. It's just, I don't know. It's really interesting. I really like sort of throwing things at people, and it's exciting, and the lovely people at Top Cow, enjoying it, and say they renewed it for Arc 2. So, which is exciting. So issue 5 comes out November, and then we'll start with issue 6. But issue 6 throws us back 15 years, so we start to get some of the just some of the mysteries, maybe there are clues to them being explained and stuff like that. But it's a whole new, it's a mystery. It's another kind of mystery. It's we see Hannah when she's younger. But which Hannah? But there you go. I'm not going to say it, but one of the Hannahs we see when she's younger, and something happens. So it's pretty exciting.
So when you started out with this process, was this story, was this the 6-page that you kind of put into the anthology, or was that something different completely?
No, it was literally the last 6 pages of issue 1 is what's in the anthology, drawn by a different artist. But yes, yeah. So we've, so it's quite nice. So, and that's the only part which is in Antarctica in issue 1. So the rest of it, the first whatever 16 pages, are really getting to know Hannah and really seeing the distressing life she's had beforehand, and really trying to get people to buy into. Care.
So, what I want to dig into the process a little bit with you, because it sounds like this was an idea. It started as a 6-page idea, and then I'm assuming, once Top Cow was like, "Hey, let's go with this," it was a 5-issue, and now you got renewed. You got extended for more. How do you, as a writer, process this and create to say, like, okay, I need to create something that's 6 pages to sell? And now I'm like, once they say, like, all right, you have 5 issues, how do you create with the idea of saying, hopefully I get to tell more story, but still wrap up that arc? Like, what's that process like for you?
Chaotic? No, it's fine. The process is the 6-pager is just kind of a real taster. I mean, even in those 6 pages, even though you never see Jim, she does actually reference Jim.
Okay.
And it's kind of I think I wrote those 6 pages always hoping that I was going to write a whole issue. So it kind of it does leave it hanging quite a lot. Then I wrote the 5-issue first arc. It's fair to say that the last page has changed after getting reviewed. Something else was going to happen, but it wasn't. I can't say it wasn't going to be tied up with a nice bow. Issue 5.
Yeah,
it was always going to be okay, that's happened, now what, sort of thing. But you could kind of get away with it, I suppose. So that's it. But now, so we changed the last page and extended it a little bit just to give. To introduce someone, and then we go back in time. So it's which feels very right. It's interesting, I sat down to think about what was going to happen next, and really after introducing a character, I think we need to flesh this out. Otherwise, I can't just bring people in just for the sake of it and think, I didn't tell you who this was. So I wanted to go back and talk about that, and also. Yeah, it's just starting to round out the story to really give some background, world building, all that sort of stuff. And, yes, that's the process is interesting. And again, at the end of in the end of the second arc, we do sort of for the third arc. Touching word with the third arc, we're going to then go back to the current day now.
Okay.
Then continue with it. So the second arc is kind of its own thing, but we get some of the motivations behind what people are doing. So when you're reading it now, you think, okay, that's why.
And then ideally, that will then help lead with stuff that you do in the third arc that makes sense because you have a little bit of background that you can introduce some stuff in the third arc that kind of happened already before the first arc. You just didn't know about it, and then you can move the story along a little bit more. So it gives it a fun dynamic like that for you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So and it's very exciting to write like this. I do leave a bit of the mystery for me as well as I'm writing it. I'm not sitting here thinking, okay, I've got this 30-issue story plan, because I do not have that. But I know where I'm going to end up in the end. But let's have some fun along the way. So
okay, so you have the end point in mind, but you don't know necessarily what the journey is to get to that point. Okay, so the idea is it could go as long as possible, because once you find out the end date, you can then wrap it up to get to where you want. But you have some other stories that hopefully you could maybe piece together or tell in a way that you'd like to.
Very much, yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Is the process different for you of I know you said you kind of started writing in screenplays and things like that, where do you have a set kind of hey, a screenplay is, if it's a 30-minute TV show or an hour and a half movie or 2 hours, what's the process for you of adapting from a set timeline of you got a story to tell with this amount of time, where then comics are kind of you might have an end line, you might not. Is there a different process, or is it the same thing and you just kind of adjust things as you go?
I think I'm enjoying this idea that the second, we're obviously writing in arcs, really. So I think that's working well. Writing basically series, isn't it? So really, okay, this series we're going to do this. I'm enjoying writing like that. A lot of the stories that I've written before, because I published as well, and I publish my own stories as well. The story is as long as the story is, really, whatever feels right. And in a way, I think Antarctica will be similar. There will be a stage where I think, okay, this is nice. We can wrap this up now. I don't know when that is, but we can do that. But we have other strong characters here, which could. In my sort of head canon, these people are off over here doing this, and maybe we can, show them doing that. But but it's I'm sorry. The actual question what was the question?
You got there. The question
Okay.
was just like, does the writing process change where like you have a set story, like you only have this much time to tell this story, versus a comic where it might be like you have this much time, but you could have more.
It's very much. I mean, Antarctica is quite intense, really, as a writing process, because I want to set up mysteries. I want to surprise people every issue. And it has to kind of each arc has to wrap up at the end of the issue, so at the end of the 5th issue. So that's more intense than my usual writing process, which is okay. Let's see where this goes. Yeah,
right. So where did this idea for Antarctica kind of come about? Because it is you said you like to tell stories set in a single place, like a play or in a location, but where was it for you? Like, I have something here and this is a story I want to tell.
I don't really know. I remember I was sitting at the Top Cow round table, and I know we had to bring in an idea for that, and I think again at some point, probably in the month or two before that, I came up with this idea. I sat down with a blank screen in front of me and thought, okay, this is it's going to be about somebody in Antarctica. I don't know. Obviously, as with all things, it's going to be influenced by so many things, including the Thing. Even though there's not a shape-shifting alien involved,
right?
But it is that sort of thing, and I don't know. I wish I could tell you. It's just there was no penny dropping moment. I'd say I haven't looked at the document. I have got the document somewhere, where I kind of roughed out what I was going to do, but where the initial impetus was, I don't know.
Well, but that, I guess that leads me to, is that the process for you a little bit? Do you have a lot more where you're like, hey, I just need to sit down and write and come up with an idea, more than like, oh, I have like you said, a penny drop moment, or like, oh, this is it, boom. Like, it's more of just like, I want to write something. I don't know necessarily what it is, and we'll see what comes of that.
What probably happened was I probably had an idea about writing a comic about Antarctica, and probably about the doppelganger moment.
Yeah.
And then the Top Cow thing came along, and I thought, okay, I could do it for that. I think that's probably. I mean, I have a whole Evernote full of ideas. I mean, when they come to me, I just jot them down, or lines, or whatever they are. So I do have that, and if I'm in need of, okay, what am I going to do? Well, I've got, oh my God, I've got some hours to spare. What can I do? And sometimes I look at that and I try and get some sort of some of the ideas from there, really, that I've already dreamt up in more creative moments. But generally with ideas, it is that thing where I either see something or overhear something, and I think, what if? Yeah, and I just run with it from there. But generally, I'll just write down a couple of lines just to give me okay, you can worry about this later.
So I know you said when you made the pitch in the 6-story arc that got into the anthology, that now once they said, hey, let's run with a series. The art's different. How did this creative team for the ongoing series here come about?
So Woody Roberts is the artist for it, and Lyndon White is the letterer. Both of them I've worked with before. So I run a company called Blue Fox Comics in the UK, so Lyndon is also an artist, and so he kind of letters a lot of our books, but he's also drawn quite a few of our books as well. So I've got a good working relationship. He's also kind of the Blue Fox graphic design person. So when I need the inside covers or the covers just mapped onto the templates, he's the chap who does that. So I just talk with him a lot. Good friend with him. Woody Roberts. He was also worked for Blue Fox. I write game books as well, so the choose your own adventure things. Yeah. So and Woody's done some of the internal art. All of the internal art for the game books that I do, and he's also the artist on the book I've got called Cloder. And also I've done an adaptation of The Thing on the Doorstep, and he's the artist for that. So I knew Woody as well. I know I know their process. I know that they're quick and they're really good. And so so it was really nice. It was really nice being able to bring these people who work for Blue Fox and not work for Image before, or the Top Cow Image, and yeah. And I said to them, do you want to do it? And I think they said yes. And it's just gone very well, very, very well.
Yeah. So I want to respect your time, Simon, as well, and things. But as we're kind of wrapping up, of where can people follow along with you to stay up to date with what you're creating and what you're working on in comics?
Okay. We've got a couple of main sort of social media names, I suppose. Blue Fox Comics. You'll find us, everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all the other small thingies nowadays cropping up. And also, for me personally, S. Birks Writer. So, my name with writer on the end, S. Birks Writer. And again, that's Instagram, X, and
whatever.
Whatever weird thing they want to call it now, and that sort of stuff. So you just follow me on there. We also have a Substack. So we've got a Blue Fox Comics Substack and a branching narrative Substack. So that's the game books and stuff like that.
Nice. And obviously, we've been talking a lot about Antartica. That's kind of how we got connected. Is there anything else that we haven't gotten to hit on that you'd love to talk about, past projects that, say, hey, go check this out, or more stuff that you're working on and say, I got this in the pipeline, be looking out for it, or just focus on Antarctica?
No, that's fine. No, I mean, Antarctica is out there. It's in the shops. Go along, stick it on your pull list. That'd be fantastic. That'd make me a very happy man. And at the moment, we do a Kickstarter every month. There's one on there at the moment, which is for a game book, a branching narrative. It's called Monuments. So if you go and search Simon Birks on Kickstarter, you'll find my name, and it's the 57th one we've done. So we're there monthly. And if you back one, then Kickstarter will inevitably email you with all the other ones that we send out. So go and have a look there. If you like independent comics, we also publish other people's comics as well. So creators send their completed works in, and if they're we think they're a good fit for Blue Fox, then we'll talk to them and draw that up. So we publish quite a few of those. You see me in this strange lighting environment because I'm just about to. Well, we've got MCM London, Read Pop convention over here. So that's a big one, really, for the end of the year. So we're just preparing for that. I'm in the Airbnb, and so it's so that's really good. So if you're in the UK, wander along and come and say hello. We're if you search my name, my face comes up. I think also an axe murderer does. It's not the same person, but thankfully,
two completely different things.
Yeah, he doesn't look like me. I mean, the makeup's good, so it's fine.
That's great. Well, Simon, thank you so much for taking some time to talk about comics with me, and all the stuff you're working on. I'm excited to continue to check out your stuff and see. But gang, go check out Antartica. It's on your poll. And then, if you're interested in some of the gaming books and things like that, look on Kickstarter. Look at Simon Birks. Figure it out, gang. Go support independent comics. Check out Blue Fox. A lot of cool stuff there. So again, Simon, thank you so much for taking some time to talk about comics with me.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
With that being said, gang, make sure you find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.